the Vice President of the Florida GOP, and that is, of course, Republican Christian Ziegler. Great friend of the show. Christian, welcome back to Outsiders.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, guys. It's always great to come on. You guys are a friend of the president's, and it's always great to talk to friends.
I wanted to ask you about what's happened this week with Baltimore. Donald Trump sent out some tweets, as he does, about the crime and the poverty in Baltimore. And, of course, straight away he was labelled a racist, and he's got this feud now happening with Elijah Cummings. Tell us a little bit about that and how that's been covered in the media.
Yeah, look, if you go and you read those tweets, there's nothing in those tweets that have to do with racism. But that's immediately what the left is jumping to really focus in on, and the media is obviously enabling them. All Donald Trump was doing was holding failed politicians accountable. Elijah Cummings has represented that area for over 20 years. It really is a failed American city. It used to be a great American city. But when you get Democrats go into control, I think the top 10 most dangerous cities in America are actually controlled by Democrats. But this specific area, here we have Elijah Cummings, so focused on this bogus impeachment and bogus Mueller investigation. And Donald Trump, all he said was, hey, why don't you just take care of your own backyard right now and focus in on that? And in Washington, what's very uncomfortable is we have a president that is calling out the elites and calling out the liberals and really hold them accountable. And in Washington, we haven't had accountability in a really long time, which is why we've seen some of the failures go on within our federal government. And Donald Trump's calling it out. It's a little bit uncomfortable for people, and they immediately jump to racism to try to generate that narrative and kind of, point fingers another way. So we're dealing with that in America, but I don't think it's very fair. And I'm very happy the president's focusing on these failed areas.
Well, it's a fairly perverse mind that jumps to race when someone talks about rat infestations. They hear the word infestation and somehow that has some sort of racial connotations. I find that bizarre in itself.
So with this whole Baltimore thing, is Trump successfully now being able to tie? We saw Trump successfully tie the moderate Democrats to Ilhan Omar. Will they now be also tied to this record of urban dysfunction? Because every failing Democrat city in America is run by the Democrats. Los Angeles, New York, Baltimore, Chicago. Is this now part of a strategy to look at urban centers, not just rural areas, as ways to get more support for Trump in 2020?
I think you're spot on. The strategy here, I think the president's been genius. We looked at, he's really got the Democrats to, they were trying to break from the three extreme congresswomen that just recently entered Congress, but now they fully embrace them. And now he's been able to get the Democrats to fully embrace failed cities and failed policies and dangerous cities and basically putting their stamp of approval on that. And that's exactly what we'll get nationwide if the Democrats take control of this country. So I think it reminds everyone that the Democrats are extreme. They embrace failed policies. They shouldn't be put in any position of leadership. And the president has been able to do that just by sending out a couple tweets. It's somewhat fascinating and amazing.
Well, I was surprised to see presidential candidates, some of the supposedly saner ones, Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, stand with Al Sharpton. Well, compared to, your AOCs and that, but stand with Al Sharpton, who has just been a deplorable race baiter and said some really horrific stuff, anti-Semitic stuff, and yet they were applauding him because he was standing with Cummings and he was having a go at Trump.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. So the Democrats, and Elijah Cummings has been one of the ones that have been most vocal, are openly attacking our Border Patrol and our law enforcement today. And then you have them endorsing people like Al Sharpton, who actually called for the killing of quote-unquote pigs in reference to law enforcement in the past. This is very dangerous. So now we have the Democrats. They're embracing socialist policies. They're embracing a far leftist extreme congresswoman. Now they're embracing failed policies in these cities that are dangerous. And then they go over there and they're standing side by side with people that hate law enforcement. I just think when you look at the Democratic Party, what they're trying to do is they're, number one, trying to control us. And number two, if they can't do that, they're trying to destroy us. And this is just a path. This is another step in that path. And that's what we're seeing. It's disappointing.
Fascinating insights always. Thank you, Christian Ziegler, for being on Outsiders. And we'll chat to you in a month or so. Thanks so much. We'll let you go to bed now. It's late over there in Florida. So thanks so much, mate.